Member for Dobell. The question is that the amendment be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Banks.
Well, thank you, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, and I'm particularly proud to speak on this legislation this evening, because this legislation really goes to values and it goes to priorities. And what this legislation says very clearly is that the government places a very high priority on those who have served us in the military. Now, we all know that the financial situation that the government is confronted with is a very difficult one due to 6 years of flagrant mismanagement by those opposite. We do find ourselves in a very difficult financial situation, Mr Deputy Speaker. But the government made a very firm commitment back in 2010, reaffirmed in 2013, that the veterans of Australia absolutely deserve fair indexation of their pensions. And what the government has done in progressing this legislation through is to keep faith with that commitment. And it's entirely appropriate, Mr Deputy Speaker, because people who serve our military are often putting themselves at risk. They are often in dangerous situations, and they are certainly, by signing up in the first place, they are accepting that potential eventuality. And most of us don't do that. Most of us don't serve in the military, and most of us in our day-to-day jobs don't take any physical risk. We don't put ourselves at risk in that way. And I know that in this job I don't do that, and I haven't in previous jobs either. But the men and women of our military do that very frequently, and that above all makes them, as a group, the greatest Australians. Because in times of war and in times of peace, they are charged with our protection and our security, and we should always place on a pedestal the service that they provide us, Mr Deputy Speaker. So you would think it would be self-evident that fair indexation of the military pensions should be supported, and that there shouldn't be any discrimination in the way that these increases are calculated relative to age pensioners and others. So the only reason, and I think it's probably fair to say, Mr Deputy Speaker, that based on comments from those opposite, that there's probably a widely held view that that is a fair proposition. So the only reason not to do it, and it's not the right reason, but it's the only potential excuse, is that you haven't got the money and you can't afford the cost. And what we saw under 6 years of Labor is such extraordinary financial mismanagement that Labor was willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, on different programs, but couldn't find the much more modest amount, though significant, that is required for this indexation arrangement. Because when you've blown $6.5 billion on your lack of border security, when you've spent $100 million because you closed down the live export industry overnight, when you've wasted literally in the billions of dollars on the tragic pink bats program, money's tight. But Labor, in failing to provide this indexation in those 6 years, really got its priorities all mixed up, Mr Deputy Speaker. It could find funds for all sorts of extraordinary government programs, very poorly managed programs with just no operational or implementation skill whatsoever. But it couldn't find the money to do something as fundamentally right as to index military pensions in a similar manner to age pensions. We said we would do that because it's the right thing to do. We said it consistently over a number of years. We even introduced legislation in the previous parliament Mr Deputy Speaker, to try and make it happen. And now we're in government, we're able to do it. I'm proud to speak in favour of this legislation, and I commend it to the House.